What up, what up, what up? It's your boy LQ, Mr. Real Deal Fantasy, and this is the Sick Podcast Rams recap. And boy, we are coming in with happier vibes in this episode. It's Victory Monday. So please, without any further ado, hit the intro.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Rams recap with LaQuan Jones.
They rush forward. Burrow to throw for it. He's hit. He's hit. He's sacked. He throws it away. He flings it away on fourth down. Aaron Donald got there, and you can build that man's statue out SoFi Stadium right now. The greatest of all time on defense does it in the biggest moment of Super Bowl 56.
The sickest Los Angeles Rams podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Let's go. I love that intro, man. It just brings the energy. And listen, it's Victory Monday, people. We beat the Saints. And I know a lot of people on paper are probably thinking, like, come on, it's the Saints. Who do they have on offense? Alvin Kamara is who they have on offense. And I will say, with 23 carries and putting up over 100 yards on the ground, I mean, we kind of expected this. No, I mean, last week we saw a running back in a very similar caliber. It's Saquon Barkley, and we get hit again with Alvin Kamara this week. But the good news is that for the most part, we kept everybody else in check. I mean, even Taysom Hill, before his injury, we kind of were all over that, basically keeping him bottled up. But more so, Alvin Kamara, he needed 23 carries just to get over 100 yards. So I look at that as a win, kind of, So more so, iron out. Let's tackle some of these headlines, man. And I think the biggest headline has to be Blake Corum finally getting opportunities. After last week, I went on a rant on Twitter saying, why is Sean McVay leaving Blake Corum in the dark when you have guys like Kamani Vidal that plays for the Chargers, who's been inactive for 7 games? He had more opportunities than Blake Corum. And then you look at all the other guys like Trey Benson, these rookie running backs that are getting more opportunities than Blake Corum in a system where he should be utilized. And then we honestly see the breakout now. We're starting to see where the direction of where this run game needs to go. Because if you didn't know, this was our best rushing attack. I mean, the highest rushing yards that we've had in the game all season long. When you look at the rushing EPA, it's the highest that we had as per next gen stats. When it means the efficiency of the offense that's able to be productive, to move downfield, that set up scoring opportunities. So we look at from a yards per carry, over 5 yards per carry as a total as an offense. These are great indications that Blake Corum needs to be involved in this run game. He had a season high in snaps, so therefore he needs to be deployed for the rest of the season. Because when you look ahead to the next matchup against the Bills, we can run on them. The Bills are a middle of the pack run defense. So this is a game that I think keys to victory is to keep Kyren Williams going, to keep having Blake Corum sprinkled in. And a lot of people online were saying, hey, it's a Kyren Williams punishment. That's why he wasn't out there for a series of snaps. But who cares? We were able to see Blake Corum take advantage of his opportunities and show up and show out and add and contribute to this run game. When you look how run heavy we were against the Saints, we need to bring that same energy against the Bills. Blake Corum on the fantasy aspect of things where, I think he's worth an ad. He's a high-end handcuff because God forbid anything happens to Kyren Williams. We have basically the safe grace of like going to bed at night knowing we have a running back that is capable to take up the mantle as the RB1 and be able to go out there and execute what we need on the rushing offense, man. Like, I just cannot believe it took this long, honestly, for Blake Corum to get involved. And honestly, I'm happy about it. And another note, Rob Havenstein making his return back to the line. And man, this old line looked amazing. A huge shout out to him, putting up solid numbers as for PFF with a solid positive grade over 75. And I definitely feel as though it helped for guys like Kevin Dotson, who had an amazing game as well. This O-line is not getting enough credit for these last 3 games, especially with Kevin Dotson being so physical in the trenches. I mean, in the last 3 games, this was his PFF rating in the last 3 games. Let me get it for you real quick, because at the end of the day, it's like when you have guys like this stepping up, and I really feel as though, this old line is starting to connect, and it's starting to show up in the run game, starting to show up keeping Matthew Stafford clean. Matthew Stafford was sacked twice last game, but it's better than the 9 times he's been sacked in the last 3 games prior to that. So I'll take the wins where we can get it. But in the last 3 games, you look at Kevin Dotson in week 11, a 90.1 PFF grade, a 88 PFF grade in week 12. And then in week 13, which was last game, he had an 84 PFF grade. These are high ratings amongst, offensive linemen. And this is where it stays important for the rest of the season for our Rams to have a shot at that playoff berth. I mean, look, Cardinals take an L. They're suspect. We already know Kyler Murray is having a great season, but overall, that offense, it's not scary. That run game, I'm not scared of James Conner. Then you see the Seahawks, man. They squeak out a win somehow when they were just getting completely beat in that first half against the Jets. But of course, the crash out kings of, the NFC and the AFC is the Jets, a New York team that is crashing out, similar to the Giants, but who cares? Anyway, moving on. Overall, looking at this O-line, if it stays healthy, I don't know how this rushing attack isn't feared when you start bringing in guys like Blake Corum. You start bringing in Kyron Williams, who is just amazing. 5 explosive runs over 10 yards. I mean, Blake Corum had one as well. And then from a front on the offense, how does Sean McVay look at this game and say, hey, maybe, Blake Corum goes back into the dark? No way. There's no way he'd look at these numbers and look at the stats and say, Blake Corum, you're going back to the bench. I think we start seeing more of Blake Corum as the weeks go on. And I talk about this Buffalo game up ahead. We can run on this defense. They're averaging over 120 plus yards on the ground to opponents. So I think this is an absolute smash this week, going against this Bills defense of where the keys to victory needs to be. Now, I want to move on to a segment that I'm going to try to work into this show, into this pod, where I'm just basically going to go on a rant about my frustrations of what the team has been doing. And it's a very quick rant. It's not going to be a long segment of things. I just want to really just get into it real quick, where my problem is when the Rams, man, on offense, when we're struggling in third down, when we're struggling in the red zone, or we're just struggling on crucial moments, when it's like 3rd and 4, or if it's like, 4th and short, we try to make these big plays. I was so frustrated for that one ball that was going to Puka and then the other ball that was going to Cooper Kupp on 3rd and short. And it's like, why are we trying to do these home run plays? Why are we aiming and targeting in the end zone when, Puka was covered? Like, I don't understand why we do this. This is something that we tend to do sporadically throughout the games. And I really feel as though, man, this is what's killing us on 3rd down. This is what's killing us to convert. We should have had 100% on 4th down conversion, but we didn't. But overall, looking at how we do things, how aren't we running the ball on 3rd and short where Kyron Williams is being efficient, when he's being explosive, looking great outside the tackles, in between the tackles, able to convert? Why are we going for home run shots? Why are we throwing on 3rd and short? So those are just my frustrations with the Rams. And moving forward, we cannot have that next week against the Bills. We cannot have that going into the playoffs. We cannot have these things where we're making silly mistakes trying to catch defense off guard, going for a long ball on 3rd and short. No, these need to be erased from the playbook. These things need to be fixed before we go up against giants like the Bills, when we go up against division rivals like the Cardinals and the Seahawks and et cetera, et cetera. Like, we need to fix these things before it starts to matter. So that's my little rant right now for this segment. But now I want to give out game balls, and I want to highlight and focus on one player that just been showing up, showing out each and every week, and his name is Omar Speights. This linebacker is one of the ones that I feel like I'm getting old feelings of a guy like Corey Littleton. Like, I make the comparison because Corey Littleton was just making play after play. If it was on special teams, whatever the case may be, if it was in coverage. But when you look at Omar Speights, man, he's our highest graded linebacker on the roster, 3rd highest graded player on the defense. Like, this is one of the things where you find a guy from out of nowhere, a rookie undrafted free agent, and it's like, man, Omar Speights is showing up in the run game, making the stops. And look, he's only had 2 missed tackles since week 7, since he's became the starter for that linebacker position. He's been in the game making so many crucial stops on 3rd and 4th down. Like, this guy is just showing up and showing out. And honestly, I love Troy Reader, but I don't know how you take Omar Speights off the field for the things that he's doing. He's actually showing up in coverage as well with an average ADOT, which is basically the average yards that the ball travels, is at 3.7. So therefore, him allowing 11 receptions and 79 yards in the last couple weeks since week 7. That's actually good for a linebacker in coverage. He almost had an interception as well with Derek Carr. So I feel as though like Omar Speights is making a huge difference on this defense, this young defense, and they're disciplined, man. So I'm looking at Omar Speights as he's probably going to get the game ball every single week just from me from the Rams recap pod. But I really feel as though Sean McVay, please don't take Omar Speights off the field. Please don't take him off the field, Chris Shula. Please leave Omar Speights there to do his job, to keep showing up each and every week as a highlighted player that's going to get this game ball. Like I want to grab the game ball here, but I don't want to spill my Funko Pops and start breaking stuff. So I'm not that coordinated with the look off trying to get it. But he gets a game ball from your boy from the Sick Podcast, the Rams Recap. So Omar Speights, man, just keep going out there, keep showing up and showing out. But man, game ball goes to you for week 13. Looking ahead, I don't know. Maybe Blake Corum against the Bills. Maybe he gets a game ball. Who knows? But overall, man, I'm super excited about this Bills game. Only because I think we made huge improvements in the Saints game that we just had, where we executed in the red zone, 100% in the red zone of execution. That is the second time this season since we had, execution in the red zone at 100%. Then you look at the most rushing yards that I hit on earlier with Blake Corum being sprinkled in, 156. Then third down, we showed up finally, man, 44% on third down against the Saints. And listen, that was our best third down conversion percentage since week 5 against the Packers. There are areas of where we're starting to improve. I don't care if it was the Saints, because the Saints are nothing to really, just shoo off, because they're still a playmaker defense out there. They were a top 10 run defense going into this week. So therefore, for us to be able to do what we are able to do on the ground, we were able to come out squeaky clean, you know what I mean, having some, season highs. So looking at Matthew Stafford, not one of his best games in the passing yards, but he had 2 touchdowns. He didn't turn the ball over. So these are things that are going to keep ascending this team and try to make this playoff rush. Because again, the Bills, that are the biggest exclamation point of where we need to win to actually make this playoff run believable, man. Like when we have these categories like the third down and red zone that have been killing us all season long, and we're showing life of incline, ascending. These are things that gets us Rams fans happy. These are the little areas that, us stats nerds that we look at like, oh my God, thank God we're making the improvements, because this team, like I said, to start off this podcast, to start off this shows, the Rams are dangerous again. And when you have the defensive line, you thought I was going to go this entire show without talking about the D-line and without talking about the trenches. They stole a return touchdown from Braden Fish, but it's fine. He still showed up in areas that it mattered. And honestly, fun fact, on third and fourth down, he leads all rookie in sacks. And I bring that up because his co-trench buddy, Jared Verse, showed up in a big moment of turning the ball over against Derek Carr. And these are moments where I feel like, man, that felt like Aaron Donald making the big plays, like at the end of the Super Bowl against Joe Burrow, making the plays that count and converting on third and fourth down are being stopped when you have guys like Braden Fisk and Jared Verse coming at you. So honestly, these guys in the trenches are making difference makers. Let's do it against Josh Allen. We were able to get after Jalen Hurts, make him make some mistakes out of that pocket, because again, the Rams have a history of struggling against mobile quarterbacks. If we can contain Josh Allen, if we can keep the same game plan that we had for the Saints of containing Alvin Kamara to a point, I think this is where we can win at. If we stop the run, if we stop Josh Allen and getting out and making the creative plays like he just had last week with Amari Cooper, man, the little handoff, I mean, the throw a pass, catch the pass, and then run it in, like that was crazy to me. We cannot let this happen, when it comes to Josh Allen this week, man. This is going to be an important game where we need to lock in to just contain Josh Allen, man. Don't let him get out of the pocket and start running on us, because I think that's what's going to hit us. But like I said, Omar Speights is around, so Josh Allen better watch out, because this dude is making stops and he's flying all over from sideline to sideline. These are the type of linebackers that make a difference for these mobile quarterbacks. So honestly, the highlight here is that they need to stop Josh Allen. They need to keep James Cook, because James Cook has been cooking, because they have a saying over there in Buffalo. When James Cook is cooking, they all eat. And that is true, because that just brings so much energy to this Bills offense. And I think this is where it could be dangerous when you have Amari Cooper. You have Mac Hollins as a sneaky guy, sneaky sleeper that goes in, gets behind defense and make the big plays, and he ends up being a huge red zone target as well. So you look at some of their playmakers, they might not be the biggest names out there on the market. They may not be the sexiest names out there, guys that you don't really know, but guys like Khalil Shakir, he's definitely a threat. He's a guy that is Josh Allen's number one target, and he will eat you up in the middle of the field. This is where you're going to have to look at Christian Rosewood, who made an amazing play on Alvin Kamara last week. He was close to getting the game bar, but Omar Speights, man, has just been showing up. So I'm just highlighting the linebackers. Those guys, those are the two duo guys that are just lighting it up. But man, Christian Rosewood and Omar Speights are going to have a huge dealing trying to deal with that middle of the field when it comes to Khalil Shakir. You're going to have to depend on, Josh Allen just staring him down or looking him off, where you're going to have to take him out of the game. But honestly, Amari Cooper, he's been, he's not a big threat, but Keon Coleman, he could be making his return. Who knows that status there? But looking at this team as a whole, I think this is a winnable game for the Rams if they just key in on some of the major factors of this offense that the Bills got. So, man, I mean, look, that's all I got for this show, man. Honestly, this might be a short one, but honestly, this is where I'm happy that the Rams are coming in this week with a win. We have some momentum. We're improving in the red zone. We're improving on third down, and the run game has looked amazing now that Blake Corum is back, sprinkled into the workload. So I definitely think, Kyron Williams, this ain't a knock to him whatsoever. He's been taking on the mantle as the RB1, doing an amazing job, but I just think that there's something missing out of that run game, and I think it's Blake Corum to elevate this and give the guy a break, man. Give him a breather, man. Honestly, Kyron Williams, we need him healthy all through the playoffs as well. We need him healthy for the remaining season, obviously, to get to the playoffs. So why not just take the load off when you have such a great talent like Blake Corum, who could show up in the passing game as well, who could show up as a pass blocker? There's everything where they marry each other. They're very similar backs. So please get Blake Corum involved this week and the week after. Keep it going, Sean McVay. Listen, I don't know. Maybe Sean was listening to the pod last week. I don't know. Somebody had to see, me ranting on Twitter, because the Rams, social media, they actually do follow me. So therefore, maybe somebody saw it. Who knows? But this wraps up another great episode. Make sure you guys are liking, subscribing to the SIT Podcast Rams Recap. Make sure you guys are leaving a comment below on what you guys think about the episode and what I should rant about next week, or this week as well, because we do the pod twice a week, every week. I got you guys here with fire content only. And listen, make sure you guys follow me on all social media platforms at Real Deal Fantasy, and even on Blue Sky. You can catch me in the sky, if that's what they're saying, putting out skeets, tweets, whatever they call over there. But man, thank you guys for another great show. I'll see you guys this week.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Rams Recap with LaQuan Jones on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.